So, Mike, how many times have you watched Endgame since home video?
Well, from start to finish, 5 or 6 probably. but
wasn't that 2 days ago?
No. I bought it digitally, so it was like
okay.
2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful in 4K.
Yeah,
Absolutely beautiful.
I finally picked it up Tuesday, but I haven't had time to like block out 3 hours to just sit down and watch it yet.
Yeah,
which is kind of killing me a little bit. Like, I really want to just revisit it and see what it looks like. Maybe I might just have to skip around, just like pick the last third and be like, okay, I'm just gonna watch all the cool fucking shit.
I would say for me, that's kind of like, I have the time, but it's played as like background noise for me a few times.
Yeah.
Where like I'm doing something completely else, but I just throw it on. What was it, Josh? I told you the when we recorded the pre-show the other day it was during the show when we took a quick break, and I came back and I told you that the Endgame scene was on where Cap gets the hammer, so I had to stop and watch.
Left it on for the dogs.
Yeah, I put it on for the dogs while they were in the crate because Amy wasn't around, and I went in, and it was like right before like the three of them are fighting Thanos. I'm like, I got to see Cap get the hammer. So I just left Josh hanging for, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, whatever that was, because I couldn't like walk in and it be on that scene and not watch.
I mean, that's acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, it should be at least. I'm sorry if it was rude, Josh,
I wonder how far in advance of that moment you could have encountered it and still decided, I will just sit here for a little bit.
I think the missile attack, by the time the missile attack happens, I'm like, nope, I'm in for the long haul. Let's finish this fucker.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
which I think at that point there's still a good like 45 minutes left.
Yeah, like that was the problem. Is like I'm sitting, I got Josh where like I just took a quick break to check on the dogs. I wasn't, I wanted to watch, but I couldn't.
That's when you come back to the dogs afterwards and be like, hope you liked the end of that movie because we're watching it again.
Oh, they've watched it several times. I put them in the crate, I just throw it on. They've watched it more than me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and His Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Josh Zorch.
I'm no longer the Count. I am back to being just simply Mr. Movie Slut.
And you heard him. That's Mike Bradley.
That was my intro. I just...
Just the Count laugh. That's all you get. So yeah, I'm back with you guys this time. Did you guys have fun last episode without me?
Yeah. Did you have, like it was...
I mean, don't throw it in my face too bad, but...
No, it was just like any other episode, just talking about horror anytime it comes up, and you just don't talk.
Yeah.
So, same as any other time we discuss horror movies.
Yeah.
Would have been the
That's
same
true,
since
that's
you
true.
were
I
with
guess
us.
nothing has changed. But yeah, I got to give you guys props officially. You guys did a great job last week, or the last time we did this wasn't last week. It's like almost an out of body experience to edit an episode that I'm not on. It's a little odd and weird, but
we tried to make it fun for you,
Did you feel like you had like let us borrow your car and you were just sitting at home waiting to see if we brought it home like with the car with the door smashed in?
I think like I made that comparison to like in the intro that I recorded, like the proud parent thing of like it's like leaving the kids at home as you go out to do something, and then you come back to realize the kids hasn't set the house on fire and everyone's still alive.
Yeah.
So kudos.
The house might be haunted now. But...
I'm just glad he didn't catch the 15 minutes of dead air we left in it.
Mike's Avengers Endgame break. All right, so 3 of us are back together for this episode. There's, probably a couple headline stuff we could talk about, but it wasn't enough to fill an episode, and we haven't done a What's Up With You in a while, so it seemed like a good time to just kind of catch up with everybody and see what's been going on. If you haven't listened to one of these episodes before, what we usually kind of do, it's just kind of an excuse for us to talk to each other about some stuff that each of us has watched or played or read that we haven't really covered before. it's more or less kind of like a mini review episode where we just kind of talk about a bunch of the random stuff and give our thoughts on whatever we've been checking out. So we never really, I guess, discussed this beforehand, but any volunteers? Does anyone want to go first over their list of stuff?
Are we going to do could we do like a roundabout? Like, what are we watching on TV? And then everybody kind of talks about it?
Oh, we can do that. Yeah. I mean, I have a couple movies, I have a TV show, and just random couple games that I guess the same random couple games, but a couple games.
Why not? Let's. I like the idea of doing it by category.
Yeah.
All right. So I know we've probably all seen some movies. Let's go with some movies. So who wants to start with their movie list?
I'll start.
Okay.
I can start with the movie I believe we started talking about on last week's episode, which was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Amy and I went to see that opening day. And I was pleasantly surprised. That movie was very much awesome. It felt weird because there was a couple families in the theater that brought children that were like 5 or under, and it was a PG-13 horror movie, but it still had some fairly violent parts.
Like it strikes me as weird.
Like, well, I mean, they actually have. Josh, have you seen it yet?
We did. We went on Sunday night.
Okay, so you'll understand the scene I'm talking about, where somebody is brutally injured with a pitchfork.
Yep.
Sounds like my kind of movie.
But instead of blood, there is no blood.
Nope.
It's straw. So I guess they kind of get away with it, but they show the pitchfork like puncture his chest in the back and come out the front. But there's no blood. So they get away with some things like that, but definitely not appropriate for your 8 and unders, but definitely a fun movie.
Was that the first one on your list you guys talked about that came out?
I think
yes.
So. Yeah, I think it was the first.
Okay.
And in terms of release dates, we started the episode by recapping some Halloween franchise news. But in terms of like upcoming releases, that was the first one.
Right. Okay.
Staying with another horror movie I watched recently on Prime was The Curse of La Llorona. I had not caught that in the theater when it was out, and I also did not know that it was tied to the Conjuring universe kind of thing before seeing it. I had not heard that, but turns out it is. Very interesting movie. It was not... I wouldn't call this one scary.
Not really. Couple jump scares.
Yeah, and I know some people, like, a good friend of mine always tells me that he's always terrified of, like, the scary women, like in The Nun or, any movie that has, like, that going on.
Yeah.
It, like, creeps him out. So maybe for somebody with, like, that problem, this could work on the scare level, but I thought the story was interesting, but the scares weren't really there.
Yeah, Sam. And I'm kind of torn about the idea of, like, when they're designating something as being part of the Conjuring universe, because it's, on the one hand, I like that it's almost very subtle in some of these cases. Like, they're not slapping you over the head with it, but then how much, like, to the degree that they're, like, minimally connecting these things, I feel like they're trying to overuse it as a selling point.
And see, that for me is kind of why I brought it up, is because I didn't even know about it. Like, it wasn't what sold me on it or anything. I had no idea that it was part of it when I saw it. So if they did do that for marketing, it didn't reach me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I'm sure it wasn't a very strong marketing campaign they put towards that movie, but
yeah, it was all right.
And
you guys recommend it or no?
Yeah. I mean, I would say if you like horror movies, give it a watch. But I would say that about a lot of horror movies, because
true,
some of the fun in horror movies can be with how bad they are too. So, like, I would still tell somebody to go ahead and give a watch to Hatchet. You know,
Oh, I love Hatchet.
Yeah.
I love that whole series.
It's campy, it's bad horror, but it's not scary, it's fun horror.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, in Scary Stories, I would absolutely recommend. The third movie that I've seen recently that I would put on this is Long Shot. And that was fantastic.
Which one was that? Refresh my memory.
That is Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen.
That's right. Okay. Yeah.
She plays a woman running for president, and he's a kind of a loser journalist, but they know each other from childhood, and it's kind of a romantic comedy, but in Seth Rogen's format of romantic comedy, like a Judd Apatow kind of thing. Like it's very crude in a lot of ways. But it was fun from beginning to end. I don't think it's going to stay on my top 10 list, but currently it's holding a spot there.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I don't think it's going to hold on to that spot by the end of the year, because there's quite a few things coming up I know we're going to knock it out. Probably. But yeah, that's for newer movies. Other than that, recently, Godzilla King of Monsters came to watch on for digital release. I picked that up, and my opinion of it on watching it at home improved dramatically from my theater experience.
Okay.
Okay.
After the theater, I would have said like a 3.0 out of 10, and not very thrilled with it. Watching it at home, I'd actually upgrade it significantly more to like a 7. And it I don't know. I think something about it in the theater made it such that you couldn't focus on the fact that they actually did a bit of character work in the film. Because of just how loud and ridiculous the movie is the whole time in an IMAX theater. It's tough to focus.
Yeah.
But when you sit down at home and you can actually pay attention to those parts, much better.
Okay.
I mean, not a great movie by any means, but much better than my initial impression.
Yeah, I remember when we saw that. I was hyped for that, I think. Yeah, I was hyped for that, and I know I left disappointed. I was underwhelmed by that movie.
Very much so. I didn't even know there is an end credit scene on that. I did not stay for it in a theater. I had no idea it was there until I watched this, and I didn't know it was coming. I just kind of let the movie roll on, and what do you know? It was there. And Charles Dance's character finds a Ghidorah head at the very end of it.
Yeah.
So interesting. But yeah, that's it for me for movies that are new. I mean, I could tell you Avengers Endgame's on digital and all that and watched it, but that's obvious, you know.
Yeah, we've got a whole 3-hour podcast or whatever it was on that movie.
Right.
I'll piggyback on Scary Stories. Yeah, I was surprised at how well it was put together for being a PG-13 horror movie based around like teenage characters, based on short story books that are 35 years old, close to 40 at this point. I felt like there were some areas where they could have tightened it up, but I was pleasantly surprised. And the horror is if you like regular like Halloween scary, but you're not like huge into what you might yourself call horror movies, there's a good chance you'll actually like this.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Brian, this is like the happy middle ground between the gory, scary movie of It and Stranger Things. I would put that's a good in a zone between those two.
I mean, it's still nothing I'm going to be like, I need to watch this right now and go out of my way to watch that movie.
I mean, I would say for you, it's actually even safer than Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah.
Stranger Things is gorier and more violent.
Okay. So I can handle it if I ever decide to watch it, which
easily.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm not going to. Again, I probably won't go out of my way to watch it, but it's good to know that it passes my litmus test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep going with my movies. I guess I'm not sure how far back to go to think about this. I guess like things that the last couple I might have seen in a theater. We saw the live action Lion King. I think we all collectively kind of talked about that before one of the episodes a couple weeks ago. It was
In short,
Yeah, it's gonna be on my list to talk about too.
passable.
How underwhelmed.
Yeah. Bradley and I both saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I know that.
oh, we can talk
I was
about
waiting.
that.
Yeah, I
now.
was waiting for you guys to talk about that.
Now, Mike, to your point about so the episode that we recorded on Scary Movies, there was about a 15-minute conversation in the preamble of that before the show actually started that he and I kind of went back and forth on it, but I hadn't seen it yet at that point. And his big takeaway from what I remember was it seemed like Quentin's story of having his characters kind of coincide with his own sort of revisionist telling of the Charles Manson and Sharon Tate murders in August of 1969. It's like they do. Mike, I think this is what you're getting at, and I think I agree with it that both stories kind of suffered by not being strong enough in and of themselves. Like that, like neither of them were central enough.
Yeah, I feel like he wanted to tell both of those stories separately,
Mm-hmm.
and that he mashed them together. Like, he wanted to tell, a Sharon Tate movie. He wanted to make that movie. But he couldn't figure out how to do it as a solo film, like, do it with its own story. And I feel like the story of Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's characters, he also wanted to tell as their own story. But he couldn't figure out a conflict for it. Like, he wanted to tell a story there, but he mashed them together, and her story seemed completely irrelevant to the plot.
You're right. There's not, I mean, as far as I see it, there's not really like a traditional, I wouldn't say just a three act structure, but there's any conflict that exists in the story, is, especially on the Leo and Brad side of things, is mostly like internal, man versus himself stuff. And not that that's bad, but I was unprepared for just how much of a character movie this is. Like this is Quentin Tarantino writing characters, but not really writing a plot.
Yes.
And it's like if you took away, it reminded me, out of anything he's done so far, it actually reminded me more of Hateful Eight than anything. But take away the little bit of story arc that the Hateful Eight actually had, and that's all you're left with is just the people involved. If you like that kind of thing for like deep seated cinema, you'll probably enjoy it. But if you are a Tarantino fan, for his storytelling style and how awesome he can be when you look at something like the Kill Bill volumes or Django or Inglourious Bastards, and of course the earlier stuff, this is going to be very different for you.
Yeah, I felt like, I think I said it to you, there's several scenes in there that are Oscar-worthy scenes that just don't feel like they belong together in one film. The acting and the quality he gets out of everyone on screen is incredible. But the plot, the story, it just needed more attention.
Yeah, agreed.
Needed to be more thought out. And I still feel like, the movie's like a 9 out of 10. It just could have been that 10 out of 10 home run with just that much more attention to the plot.
Yeah.
And how everything was going to tie together. I mean, the scene where Brad Pitt goes to the ranch, that was fantastic filmmaking. They needed more of that tension in the film.
Yeah.
From more interaction after that. That needed to have some other event along the way. Something else there to tie that, maybe they weren't going that night to kill Sharon Tate and decided to kill them anyways. Maybe they were, looking for them because of another event that occurred with him.
Yeah, it needed something. There was glue missing.
Yeah, connective tissue. I
Yeah.
think is the term Brian likes to use sometimes.
Yeah.
Would you guys recommend it or no?
Yeah, I would. I just go,
Okay.
especially if you are seeing it because you're a Tarantino fan, just go into it with different expectations.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's see. So that's about what I had seen in the theater lately. We just rewatched randomly. We literally used a Google number randomizer last night to pick a movie out of our DVD collection, so that we didn't even have to think about like scrolling through and looking through
I feel
Netflix.
like that's something
and
I need to do.
so yeah, so Sarah's very diligent and to the point of OCD in a good way this time, to maintain a list of like the DVDs and TV shows that we physically own. So she just pulled up that spreadsheet, and if you just
That's
Google,
legit.
yeah, if you Google number randomizer, the
Right.
Google results actually embed one right in the results page. You don't even have to go to a website. You just start at 1, you put in your end, you hit generate, it gives you a number. We looked at that on the list, and it ended up being the Amityville Horror 2005 remake.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds. Very nice.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I'd watched that, and I enjoyed it quite a bit again. A couple days before that, we just watched this. We're catching up on stuff that's a couple years old. We watched The Gift. That was a Blumhouse movie with Joel Egerton, which he actually wrote and directed and co-starred in,
Oh, that one.
with Jason Bateman.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was different. It was very. It wasn't what I was expecting. I thought in the end it was going to devolve into like a horror movie, and it was very well done. The pacing was good. It's all tension. It's all build up. It's very subtle.
Suspense. It's
yeah,
100%
it really was.
suspense film. It's
Yeah.
very, very well done. And usually I don't like Joel Edgerton.
Okay.
I'm usually not a fan of his.
Uncle
but-
Owen.
What'd you say?
I said Uncle Owen.
Yeah, well, that's different. But pretty sure, does he even say anything? Does he say a word?
He has like 5 lines or something. Not a lot.
Okay, well, yeah, usually I'm not. But in that case, The Gift was really, really good. I enjoyed the hell out of that movie.
Yeah, we had a good time with it.
Is that how you've selected the last couple of movies you've watched, Josh, with the randomizer, or just that last
Just
one?
this last one last night. But between, so like we have a couple, like obviously we have a Netflix queue full of, between TV and television shows, like 400 titles. We have like 70 movies ripped to my laptop from things that like I borrowed from the library, or we got from Redbox, or I borrowed from a friend. I haven't gotten around to watch those, so I this might be the way to go for a while. Is just pick,
Yeah, that's
like
probably a
start
smart
with
move.
like source number 1, 2, or 3 or 4, and then from there tell it. All right, tell me whatever. Give me a number.
Right.
Give me number 122 on Netflix. Great.
Yeah.
Definitely takes
Yeah, it's not a bad system.
takes all of the guesswork out of it. And then if you just commit to it, if you're like, well, if we already have it, obviously we were interested in it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so and if we don't feel like watching it at that point, like obviously if it's a TV show with 4 seasons, we're not gonna be like, oh, yep, that's it. But if it's just a film,
All 4 seasons right that night.
yeah, exactly. But if it's just a film, and like, well, if we're not interested enough in it now, then we're probably never gonna want to actually watch it. So get rid of it.
That's a good way to cut it. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's what we're gonna maybe try out for a little bit.
I'll be anxious to hear how that works out.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else. Oh, I told you this the other day. So for the first time in my life, I watched Heat. I think it was last weekend.
For the first time ever.
For the first time ever, and that is okay because I was extremely underwhelmed.
Fair enough. I'm just surprised it took so long.
I'm kind of in the same boat with Josh, and him and I talked about this last weekend. I just watched it for the first time maybe within the last year and a half.
I mean, I'm not a fan, so I'm not like offended that you're underwhelmed in any way. It was a big movie. That's all I'm surprised for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those movies that's just you start hearing so much overhypeness about it that by the time you come into it, I think with higher expectations than you originally had, And I honestly, I even kind of felt that way about the original Blade Runner, because I saw that later in life,
Same.
like after that whole craze, and that was so overhyped. I'm like, I feel like I should be enjoying this more than I am.
Actually, yeah.
And really,
That's
I've
fair.
only watched that once. I should probably give it another chance. Maybe watch it back to back with 2049. I think I might enjoy it better that way.
Yeah, I think that's what I kind of had to do. I saw it again. That was like a college movie, and then I don't know, late 20s again. But then right before 2049 came out, about a month before, I saw it again, and it kind of had the same feeling about it. But I think after seeing 2049, I like the first one better.
Yeah.
It
and I could give
helps.
it that. Because we've talked about it before numerous times. I fucking love 2049.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very much the same vein as the original Blade Runner, which makes me think, why the hell don't I like the original as much as I like this one? Because I
Exactly.
love 2049.
I wonder.
2049 is a lot prettier.
Yeah,
because
I think it has
you know,
to do
it's
with
just
Yeah,
the
that could
modern
be.
technology to make
Choices.
it look that good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I feel like they were going for that in the original Blade Runner, but they didn't quite get there because the technology wasn't the same.
Yeah, it does maybe it just feels like, dirtier or something, less polished and slick.
Early 80s sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like that's
Everybody wanted that down and dirty, gritty.
everything was
Mhm.
too hard to see.
Yeah.
That movie is so darkly shot.
It is very, just dark.
But I digress.
But on a side note from Heat, since it's not directly related, but randomly, Amy and I watched Jeepers Creepers 2.
Okay.
I want to say it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And I noticed something in the credits.
What's that?
As an executive producer on this film was Francis Ford Coppola. And I
I'm
was
confirming
absolutely
this right now.
Go for it. I was absolutely shocked that an executive producer just put money up for the film and all that and everything, but still he let them put his name on that movie. What the fuck? I was just amazed by that.
Well, he was an executive producer on the first one. And so, yep, attached to the second. Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
How does that happen? Again, like I said, he's just kind of a front man and all that, but still.
Yeah, I'm sure it's
He-
one of
he
those
let
just
him
in
put-
name only.
Yeah, but he still let them put his name in the credits.
Yeah, like producers
That's
can
the-
definitely opt to not have their
Well, that's true.
information appear.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to say. Is he was like, "Oh yeah, Jeepers Creepers 2, put my name on it."
Mike, did you?
When did he say that?
Did you? Wait, so was this the first time that you've seen Jeep Creepers 2, or you're
No.
just okay?
No.
Have you seen the third one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm all about the Creeper. They're fun movies. They're stupid as shit, but they're fun.
Are there only 3 or are there more than 3?
There's only 3 as of now.
Okay.
Don't know. I could be wrong if I heard about like some. I don't say a continuation, but maybe some kind of reboot. I don't know why you would do that. Like I don't even think Jeepers Creepers 2 got a theatrical release. It might have. And the third
Yeah,
the third one
you're asking the
definitely.
wrong person. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, the third one definitely didn't. So I'm not quite sure what lies in its future.
Mm.
I'm trying to think. I think in terms of movies, that's about all that is noteworthy.
Okay. My list, I have 3 that I was going to bring up. One of them, to sort of tease it, like Mike, I think as of right now is in my top 10 for this year. The first one I'll talk about, Josh sort of talked about it too, The Lion King. I sort of just wanted to reiterate what we talked about off air. So technologically, like the special effects behind this movie are fucking phenomenal. Like it looks like you're watching some sort of live action nature documentary, which helps and hurts the movie. The animated movie is very expressive. These animals, what they put on screen for these CG lifelike animals are not as expressive as what an animated movie can do, which I think kind of takes away from the movie a little bit.
They kind of try to have some of the animals smile at times.
Right.
That I can remember, and it looks creepy when it's a real animal.
Yeah. Like Jungle Book did stuff like that too, but Jungle Book, for some reason, it works a lot better. Maybe because it looked still a little bit cartoonish and not completely real like this one does.
Yeah, this looked like BBC's Africa.
Yeah.
Which is a real thing, by the way, which is awesome.
And what I was telling these guys, I think when we talked about it off air, there was something that stuck with me that I read on Twitter, and I think it was around the time the Aladdin remake was talked about. There was one of the writers from the original animated Aladdin had been on Twitter, and I don't know if it was a conversation that someone asked him about, like a question he fielded, and then this conversation started, or if he just came out with it after all these remakes for Disney were being announced. But basically more or less saying that he was involved with writing the original Aladdin. The remake that they're doing is using stuff that he and his writing team, or whoever was involved writing, came up with dialogue, the way the story works, the arcs for these characters, and they're repurposing all that stuff for their remake, and they are getting no residuals or any type of credit for what they did originally, which kind of raised some questions to me, like, how is that even possible? Why would you even let, like, it's becomes a fine line, I feel like, between, like, paying an homage to something and flat out plagiarizing someone else's stuff. I mean, granted, it's all under Disney, but not to give the original people some sort of, like, co-writing credit or something for these movies. And it really hit me in the opening just 5 minutes of The Lion King, because it is shot for shot what the animated movie was. And immediately I'm thinking, like, why the hell... As I love Jon Favreau, but I don't feel like he should get directing credit for this movie, because the original guy that did the 90s animated movie basically directed the live-action movie, or the quote-unquote live-action movie that they just remade. Like, it really rubbed me the wrong way within the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it turned me off the whole rest of the movie. There is really good stuff in that movie. I think Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner as Timon and Pumbaa are fucking phenomenal.
Agreed.
Chidi, I always butcher his name. Ejiofor.
Yep.
Chidi.
Chiwetel.
Yeah. Chiwetel Ejiofor. I'm just making it work. The guy that plays Scar, I thought did really well. Granted, Jeremy Irons is still top tier, but this guy is a very close second. In my book.
And I'll get in on that note. For my biggest problem with the whole movie was they basically cut "Be Prepared" out of the movie.
Yeah,
and I get that. Yeah,
that was, you know, I said when we talked before about it, that was my favorite musical bit in the movie, and seeing it cut down to like a couple sentences of dialogue, basically.
Yeah,
you know, it was like, you know,
and
okay, I had to get that out. Sorry.
I think as much as I was hyped for like the voice cast with like Donald Glover and Beyonce and everybody, that those two people, I thought they phoned it in. It didn't seem like they were good enough for the voice cast. It just felt off to me.
You know,
during that second half of the movie.
I mean, I'll take Matthew Broderick back.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know who voiced Nala in the first movie.
Yeah, to be honest,
I did not have a problem
either
with Beyonce's performance as much as Donald Glover's. He seemed, like you said, it sounded phoned in.
Yeah. Like less emotional than I feel like it should be.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, for a movie that I feel like I was pretty hyped for, I don't think it made my anticipated list. But I felt like I was pretty excited going into it. But yeah, after having watched it, I definitely came out feeling disappointed. Yeah, maybe I'll just give you guys a chance to chime in before I jump onto my next. Anything to add for Lion King?
No, but I know the movie you're going to put in your top 10. I already know what that is. I'm just...
We'll see. Next one I'm going to talk about was Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
Which, again, I was pretty excited to see that one. And that one also left me disappointed.
Oh, really?
I think I expected it to just be like all over the place, but it still felt all over the place. I don't know.
It was even more all over the place than what you were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to the last episode, you'll know Josh and I sort of made this agreement where he's going to actually sit down and watch 2 Fast and Furious movies, so I don't know how much I want to spoil.
If you watch Zombieland.
But, right, and, you know, we are going to do that, so this is pretty much a done deal. So, eventually, it's something that's going to happen in the franchise, but there's a character that dies that Jason Statham is responsible for killing, and they, like, even in the first movie that Jason Statham sort of shows up and starts teaming up as, like, almost going through this redemption thing. It's like, why is no one going to acknowledge that he just killed one of their friends like the movie before? And they're not even fucking acknowledging this. Like, there's no reason he should be a good guy. This is Mike, Bradley, this is the Kylo Ren kills Han Solo and now Kylo Ren's a good guy. Like, this is the arc for me that I can't get behind. As awesome it is to see them two, like The Rock and him on screen as this buddy cop thing, I really like that dynamic. I think they're really good together, but I can't get over that hurdle of like, you've killed off a main character. Why the fuck are you here?
So in the case of these movies, I'll actually side with the filmmakers, whereas with Kylo Ren, I side with no. He killed Han Solo. He killed his dad. He's not redeemable. He had his shot. It's over.
Yeah.
But with these movies, I'll side with the filmmakers because I'd just say you're taking it way too serious, and it's just meant to be a dumb, fun movie.
And I get that. I've made that argument for the past couple Fast and Furious. Is like, that's how I enjoy them. It's just popcorn movies. But for whatever reason, this is the one thing that's like, maybe because they make it such a big deal in that universe when it happens, that this is a thing they should be paying attention to, and this has some weight. And then the movie after that, they're like, nope, forget it. We're good. Let's move on.
It's because they like the dynamic between The Rock and Jason Statham, and that was the important thing, was putting that on screen again for money. That's what these movies are.
Yeah. And that, they're probably already going to get like 2 or 3 other sequels from this spin-off as well.
Probably.
Which, again, I will probably go see because I'm a sucker for this kind of crap. And I will say there's a couple actually really fun cameos in the movie, which I enjoyed. I was actually disappointed with the direction. David Leitch, who's one of the guys who co-directed John Wick. He did Deadpool 2. He might have been the one that did Atomic Blonde. I'd have to double check that.
Shaky cam?
For someone that I feel like should have learned how to direct action from John Wick, in every one of those movies, Deadpool, Atomic Blonde, this one, I think they utilize a lot of that shaky cam crap.
So, have you read any of the articles about like the contract for Jason Statham,
something
The Rock,
on Twitter for that,
and Vin Diesel that they have for these, where they can't look too bad in a fight? Like, it's very hard for them to script these movies because I think Statham has it in his contract that he can't be seen to lose any fight on screen, and The Rock has to at least put up an equal fight if he's going to lose. And this is all stuff in their contract.
Yeah, I'd seen something about like counting the number of hits they can take or the amount of kicks they can take
versus what they give. Like it's oh my god! And for a director, that's got to be like, what the fuck?
But
and how
still,
do you?
even if,
well, no. What I was going to say is, with having actors that have all these stipulations in their contract, how do you use one-shot segments? Like, how do you plan those out where it's like gonna work that way? Because you have to edit out if like something in his contract comes up and he makes a big stink, like, well, I took 3 more hits in that scene than I'm supposed to take, and then you actually have to edit it afterwards. Why would you even try to begin with?
They get around the contract never showing them land a punch, like cutting away from that action before it's actually technically getting hit?
Well, I'm saying that they're having to cut it anyways. If they were going to go for the one-shot things, they would have to end up cutting it because there's no way they could perfect a one-shot with all those contract agreements that they have to keep to at the same time.
Yeah, maybe.
So
I don't know. I expected more, I think, from his action stunt choreography background. That I feel like having his name thrown around for certain action movies, I feel like comes with like a bar. Yeah, like he's set the bar for what action sequences should be, and I go into it with a higher bar what to expect, and I was very underwhelmed with what the movie gave me. Especially because the trailers spoil the whole fucking movie, so all you gotta do is watch a trailer and it's all there.
I knew that when I started seeing every trailer showing more and more and more different stuff, and I'm like, so I feel like I've seen 17 minutes of this movie already. Like,
yeah, that was ridiculously stupid marketing. So, that's my little rant for that one. I know Josh hasn't seen it. Mike, did you see that one or no?
I was actually planning on going tomorrow.
Oh, sorry. Just shit on it all over the place.
Yeah, like Amy's working from home. I was just going to take the day while she's watching, she can watch the dogs and I can run out and watch a movie real quick that she's not interested in at all. I do that sometimes. If she's not interested at all, I'll hop out and go see it, which I did that for Detective Pikachu.
So my house was the exact opposite because I had obviously no interest in this, and my wife went with Brian to see it.
Yes.
Fair enough.
I think even Sarah and I, but like we both talked about the movie. I think we both kind of felt underwhelmed from it. I think she enjoyed it more than I did, but I think we both came out not. We expected, I think, to come out really hyped and excited about it, and was like, meh.
So is this going to be one of the two that you pick for me to watch?
No, hell no. No. There's, I think we talked about this. I've been really going back and forth. Do I start you with what I think you should watch sort of in order, assuming that maybe we'll get to more, or do I start with the two that I like the most because they are different films?
Can I have input? Can I get in on this?
Sure.
I mean, I will do the triumvirate. You guys can pick a film that I haven't watched or have been averse to watching. Something with Joaquin Phoenix, probably. And make me watch that. I'll get in on this, because...
Meaning you just want to sit and watch Josh watch Fast and Furious?
Well, no, I kind of... I feel like you should give him a taste of the good and the bad.
Oh, so
Well, I
okay,
think-
so so
There is
you're
good
taking
to be
the hit?
had in the Fast and the Furious series. And there is bad to be had in the Fast and the Furious series. There's really bad, and there's good.
Okay, so what's the trade? You watch... Oh, wait,
I don't know, you
you'll
guys
watch
would have to-
Joaquin Phoenix movies, and I'll watch more Fast and Furious? Is that the idea?
Well, no, I get in on it. He's got to watch Zombieland, and you've got to watch Fast and the Furious, and you guys figure out something I have to watch.
Oh, I see. Just make it a trifecta.
I just want
All
I want
Okay.
input that I want to make sure he has to watch Too Fast, Too Furious.
right.
See, that's one I would avoid.
Well, no, I'm saying because it's bad, I want to make sure it gets in there.
See,
I
I'm
said,
trying-
good and the bad. I would do one of the good and one of the bad.
I feel like this is a conversation we have to have off air, but I don't
Fair
want to
enough.
like immediately turn him off from this franchise. I'm kind of trying to hook him with something he
So have
may
him watch
actually
Fast
enjoy.
5 first.
That's the thing. Like 5 and 6 are my favorites, but if we're trying to set up what continuity they try to do, I think 1 and 4 are the better places to start if you're watching 2.
Yeah, 2 and 3 are irrelevant, really.
Yeah.
Although I like 3.
See, 3 still... Well, no,
I love
I
Tokyo
don't know.
Drift.
It's been a while since... I've seen that one, obviously, the least amount, but 2 is... Looking back at 2 is pretty bad.
Oh, it's awful.
So... But yeah, so, all right, we'll talk. We'll
Yeah, you
figure
figure-
this
you
out.
figure that
Third movie for me that I saw that I think is, as of right now, in my top 10 is Stuber.
Really?
Wow, that is not what I expect. I was totally thinking Toy Story was going to pop up here.
Yeah, it's Toy Story is one that I saw and I did enjoy it. I guess we never really talked about that one too. Toy Story was good. The ending still kind of doesn't sit with me as well as I would have liked what is supposed to be the final Toy Story to be. I thought the ending for 3 was a lot better than the ending for 4. But it's still really good. It might crack my top 10. I'd have to actually try to put the list together to see where Toy Story fits. But Stuber, I thought, was fucking hilarious. And I thought they did a really good job explaining. There's actually a plot point as to why Dave Bautista is in the car with Kumail.
Okay.
That makes sense for the movie. I didn't realize Karen Gillan was in the movie. She is Dave Bautista's cop partner at the beginning of the movie.
Why would they not advertise
Yeah.
that? That would have made a big difference for me.
I actually think she's on one of the posters. It's just she's not a main part of the movie, so she's not getting front and center like Bautista is.
Yeah, still, they could advertise it like with Karen Gillan, and
Yeah.
and right there you're like, oh, and it draws your attention. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
another name I know is in the movie. At the very least, if you're not a fan, you even know who it is. Like, you know who that is, so
Right.
it helps.
So, yeah, I'm a little bit sad that the movie did not do very well. I think I like 2 or 3 weeks after it was released, I had to go down to the waterfront because it was like the only place that was still playing the movie.
Oh wow!
So it did not last very long in theaters. It did not make a lot of money, but I think it's very underrated considering what it made and maybe what the reviews were doing. So yeah, if you get a chance to check out Stuber, I would actually highly recommend that one.
Well, when that pops up on digital, I will absolutely watch. Now, I wasn't really that interested from the previews. Like, it looked like, okay, it has some funny moments, but
There's a
You know.
couple things that happened that had me in stitches, and I don't want to say what they were. We'll have to talk after someone has seen the movie, but
fair enough.
yeah, some of that stuff I think will stick with me to the point where I'll just laugh thinking about it, and I can't wait to pick it up and watch it on when it comes out. So that's my 3. That's what I've seen movie wise.
Fair enough.
We'll bring it back to around the mic. So
What
do you
are
want to
we
do?
shifting to?
TVs or whatever? I mean, you pick the category. Whatever you want to cover.
I'll go to reading next. We'll
Okay.
go off viewing and we'll go to reading.
I'll be honest. I don't have anything for reading. So if you guys have, whenever you guys have, is good for you guys.
For me, it's just comics. I don't actually have any books.
Okay.
Because I haven't been reading any books. I've been reading comics. I recently read Kraven's Last Hunt for the first time.
Yeah, okay.
I had never read that storyline before because I think I had read like the Amazing Spider-Man, the 2 issues that tied that to it, but not like the other ones that were in Web of Spider-Man and I think Spectacular Spider-Man. So I never read the whole series, and that was fantastic.
I feel like that's one of those arcs that always gets thrown around as like if they're making a Spider-Man sequel, they should do Kraven's Last Hunt as a movie version.
I would watch Kraven's Last Hunt as a movie. That would be amazing. I feel like maybe they would have to introduce Kraven as a character prior to that film, though.
Okay.
You know, just to give it like maybe he doesn't play a major role, but he shows up.
Okay.
And you get some character development. Like, I feel like he has to have some weight to his character for multiple films for it to really stick.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which,
but
as a sidebar, I'm actually hoping that is something that they do a better job of with the Spider-Man standalone films, if they're going to continue with those, is not... And maybe because I've gotten spoiled with it, with a lot of the massive arc of the MCU overall, is while the Vulture and Mysterio were fun, and like the actors did a good job, it felt a little bit back to that formula of here's your monster of the week, here's your disposable villain, as opposed to there's something at all being seeded in a prior chapter. Now I think Far From Home makes up for that a little bit by giving Mysterio the particular backstory in the MCU that they do. But if it had still, like, if some kind of breadcrumb, if some exposure to those ideas, those characters, something had been there beforehand, it would have landed even better. So I think what you're suggesting for Kraven would be a good idea for them to do.
Yeah, it would be fun. I mean, I've read, many other stories with Kraven for Spider-Man, but I'd never read that one specifically because it was I think it was a 6-issue arc that they did. And most of Kraven's stories were single issue previously.
Uh-huh.
So that one itself, if you've never read Kraven's Last Hunt, go look up the comics you got to read to do it. Find a graphic novel, whatever. It's fantastic. Another one that I was kind of inspired by Marvel saying they were going to do the Eternals movie officially. So I went and found the 2006 run of Eternals that was Neil Gaiman, John Romita Jr. Doing this run. And I knew nothing about them going in. There is almost no major connection to other characters in the Marvel universe for the Eternals, so they're kind of like going in cold to a story. And it was very, very interesting. It's 13 years old at this point, so it's not really spoilers to say, like, they have really heavy ties to the Celestials. And not to spoil any of the story, because you guys may be inspired to go back and read them now that they're doing the movie as well. But, they're definitely going to be an interesting addition for the MCU. I can see lots of different routes that could take and have major, major implications. Hopefully this is Phase 4's Guardians of the Galaxy. Like this next major step for the MCU. It's definitely there with the potential for the characters that I can see. I think I mentioned it to Brian prior to an episode, maybe. Or maybe just... I don't know, that might have been at the convention that we talked about it.
Yeah, maybe.
That it feels like Angelina Jolie would be perfect for one of these characters that's in the comic, and she was cast for a different one.
Mm.
So it's kind of a strange feeling for me at this point. I'm kind of like, well, because I was reading it, and I willed myself not to look up who was playing who before I finished the arc. And I said, oh, well, that's got to be Angelina Jolie's character as I'm reading the character. I'm like, that perfectly fits. And nope, completely wrong. So, we shall see. But there is other Eternal stories I want to go back and read now and see what their real origin is from the Marvel Universe, see how similar it is.
Gotcha.
And then there's two others. One is Rage of Ultron, was a graphic novel done in 2015. And this is one of the better comic stories I've read in a long time.
All right.
This focuses a lot more on the familial relationship that Hank Pym has with Ultron, where he kind of has like a strange father-son relationship with him, whereas like Vision is kind of dealing with the same kind of relationship with Ultron that Hank's dealing, like Ultron and Vision having the father-son kind of complex, playing with Hank Pym and Ultron having the same kind of thing.
I almost feel like we need to make a time out for a second just for people that are listening to this. If you've only watched the MCU stuff, Tony Stark does not make Ultron in the comic books.
Yes, no, Hank Pym designs Ultron in the comics, and Ultron actually makes Vision kind of the way he does in the movie. And in this particular case, like, it revolves around Hank wanting to kill Ultron permanently and Vision having a problem with how he wants to do it. And Hank develops a device which would effectively kill any artificial intelligence existing in its, like, radius of being hit, whatever. And he uses it on a group of supervillains without, like, informing the team that he had even made it. And it sparks an interesting debate between him and Vision about whether or not he actually just murdered them or not, because they weren't actually people. And Vision, of course, is very offended by this and all that, because Vision really isn't a person. He would fall in that same category. So it was a very, very interesting start. That's kind of where, like, the inciting action that starts off the series. The big events, you could say, that happen. Ultron.
I mean, don't spoil it if you're getting into specifics.
It's not really a spoiler, but let's just say there is some play in for Thanos and other Titans. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
They're a part of this story as well.
Okay.
And with that, I'll say definitely read it. It's like 100-page or so graphic novel, so it's not a huge read, but it is fantastic. And the last thing I've been reading is the 2018 run of Deadpool, which is, I guess it's still currently ongoing. I haven't caught up to current yet, working on it. But Deadpool, at the end of the last series, the 2016 series, Deadpool, like, executes a mind wipe on himself. So when he comes back here, he is already mind wiped and dealing with it. And yeah, I mean, some familiar faces show up here for Deadpool fans. Hydra Bob is of course there. But they bring in Negasonic Teenage Warhead to be kind of the buddy cop for this, which works great. They're going with what the Deadpool movies created for the character.
I was gonna say, as a comic book version of the character, or a movie character, or movie version of the character.
More the movie character version, where she's a snarky teenage girl who plays off well with Deadpool.
I feel like I remember reading like Joss Whedon's X-Men, Astonishing X-Men run, and Negasonic turns up in there, and I'm like, you are not what I remember seeing from the Deadpool movie.
No, yeah. The standard comic version of Negasonic is very much a different personal character. The powers, depending on who writes Negasonic, are either very similar, where she's, roughly the same as in the movies, way underpowered than she is in the movies, or way overpowered than she is in the movies. I would say this version is much more powerful than what's in the movies,
Gotcha.
but the personality rides the movie personality.
Okay.
Shaved head, everything like that. Like, it's the only other depiction I've ever seen of Negasonic that way is in this comic. The movie and this comic, that's it. So
Gotcha.
they're definitely going for that intentionally. But yeah, there's a hilarious sequence. Deadpool ends up in Weird World, looking for a target. And he gets trapped in time. And basically, he jumps out of the plane where Hydra Bob and Negasonic are kind of just there to retrieve him after he executes the mark, performs the hit, whatever.
Yeah.
And not to spoil the comic, but they start getting texts and video chat back from him through like 10 years worth of him being down there just seconds after he jumped out of the plane. And, of course, chaos ensues while he's down there and crazy shit happens. It's fun. Definitely worth reading this run of Deadpool. It's been very good so far.
Cool. I guess, Josh, are you reading anything? Anything to chime in?
I surprisingly like yes and no. It took me like a year because I am not a dedicated reader and I'm a slow reader. I finally got through American Gods by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, okay.
Not that I didn't enjoy it. I liked the story. I choose to do other things with my time. And I wish that I spent more time actually reading. No, I do. And then I am a slow reader when I do have a book up. So it's something I got to work on. I really, really do. After that, I actually read the first book in what will be a trilogy. I will plug this for her because I literally did read it. Basically, like through the month of like mid-June to mid-July. It's a book called Sinless, Sinless. It is by a wonderful friend of my wife's. Her name is Sarah Tarkoff. Tarkoff. They knew each other from high school. Sarah, among other things, has been a screenwriter for the show Arrow for a couple of years.
Oh, I do remember Sarah telling me about her. Yeah.
Among some other things. Her first book in the trilogy was published last year. The second one was released earlier this year. And I think the third is supposed to be released sometime next year. It's... I don't want to miscategorize it. I'd say if broad strokes, I guess you'd initially maybe put it in the realm of young adult. It kind of reminds me a bit of like, but the flavor of young adult that's more like the Maze Runner.
Okay.
Type of mood. I guess the premise, the opening of the book, is that around, I think in like it takes place in the slight future. So the main events take place close to the year like 2030. And around like our time now, maybe between like 2015 and 2020, the world experiences what it believes is a real exposure to like an omnipotent god-like power. And the world changes based on that, and human behavior changes based on that. The way that people from that point forward begin to physiologically react to things that they feel they do wrong it actually physically manifests.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of the opening of the book, right? So that's the stage they set for you, and then the story itself takes place in that world through that line. So the first book is called Sinless. The second is called Fearless. Now I took a pause in between these two because I'm actually, I mean, this isn't like even really like a good topic. We're planning a vacation for next year. So I'm like, what I am reading right now is like one of those travel company books on Ireland. So that's,
I mean, you got to prepare.
that's what I'm going to be consumed with for the next 2 or 3 months.
That's
fair. But I would definitely recommend Sarah's stuff. And obviously Neil Gaiman is a freaking genius. So anything that he's ever written, I think this kind of passed by us quickly, maybe during one of our little breaks, that I believe it was made official that Netflix is like 100% genuinely for real actually developing a Sandman series. I think I heard that was finalized.
I feel like I remember hearing that, but I also thought I remember hearing that whoever the showrunner was had already left, and then they're trying to get somebody else, so I didn't know where that was at.
That could be the case, but at the very least, I think it has been like official. Well, if that's the case, even like the story I heard was basically Warner Brothers has had the rights for years, and after some of their missteps or the position they find themselves in, they basically sold the production rights. They sold the ownership adaptation rights rather to Netflix as a way to raise capital.
Yeah, okay.
So it was like at least confirmed that Netflix owns the property, and I can't see there's a whole lot that Netflix goes into that doesn't end up coming to light, especially something that big. So
Right.
I don't know what kind of timetable it'll be on. But at the very least, everybody should read the Sandman run. It is so imaginative, and it's so damn good. Oh, and well, actually, related to that, not to jump over to TV real quick, but I will say that, because I know we need to go to you.
Feel free. I got nothing to read. So
Are you sure? Okay, well, then we'll parlay over to the TV side. Sarah and I watched Good Omens on
I was curious
on Amazon
about that.
Prime,
Yeah.
which is again another adapted Gaiman property. Interesting premise, which is an angel and a paragon, a demon, whatever you want to call him. He's not the devil, but he's definitely a demon, I suppose. Is they meet in the Garden of Eden, and then kind of become like these weird friends throughout human history. And for about whatever, X number of thousands of years, they go through it up until like an event that is coming to fruition in modern day. And it's Michael Sheen who plays the angel and David Tennant who plays the demon. They are absolutely delightful. Like they both of them 100% deserve Emmy nominations for their respective performances. Like even if the other one wasn't there, they play off each other tremendously well, and the one's personality always enhances the other, so it just keeps building and it just gets better. But it's 100% recommend that.
I wouldn't expect
remember-
anything less from the two of them. So
I remember seeing the trailer, I think, for that and thinking that looked fun to watch. And I think I realized it came out, but I haven't sat down to try to watch it yet. But yeah, I definitely think I should check that out.
It's on Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime user, it's included in your streaming. I don't know if it's probably available for rent or purchase if you're not a Prime member. I would assume.
Right.
But try to get a hold of it at some point. It is. It's only 6 episodes, so you get through it real quick, but it's really really good.
Cool.
Before you move on to anything else, I'll stick right to Amazon Prime and say The Boys is out of this world fun. That would be like number one on my list for TV to watch for somebody would be The Boys. Brian, you'll handle it. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I had seen like the people online basically glowing about that show, and it's definitely something I'm curious about. But then I also wasn't sure like the hyper violent side of it, if I would be okay with that.
I honestly I don't think there's anything there that is that bad, in terms of like the violence that would put you off, where like you don't get, I think you only really get a good look at the gore like one time in the whole thing. The rest of it's kind of like you see there's a Superman-ish character
Yeah.
who, you know, this isn't the comic books or anything. When he hits somebody with laser eyes, they fall to pieces. You know, they actually get destroyed by it.
It's like finally seeing Logan and what the claws would do to somebody.
Right. Similar idea, but it's always done at a distance. Like you're not. Like there's one moment where it's not, but at the same time, it's not really bad because it's like
I think I'd seen one of the trailers, which made me laugh, but at the same time slightly disgusted me. Where like the guy that runs really fast, like runs through someone, and
yeah, that's within the first minute.
Like what happens if you run into
two.
someone at super speed, and that's exactly what would happen. So
yeah,
I understand
that's kind of like one of the inciting incidents in the show. That's not really a spoiler. Like
yeah,
the main
What's in the trailer?
character's girlfriend gets exploded by one of the superheroes who's a Flash character, but he's not the Flash. All of the characters kind of play off that. There's an Aquaman that's not Aquaman, a Wonder Woman that's not Wonder Woman, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, he runs through her, and like you said, exactly what would happen, just poof. They did kind of the same gag in Brightburn, where the kid does that to a police chief.
Yeah.
Which is much more unsettling there because like you knew what was coming, that they were going to be harmed by him or something. In this, it was more like it just kind of happens where it's like a flash on the screen and then she's gone and there's a big giant like it's like a splash of blood. You know what I mean? Like it's not anything more than that, but then, you know, her boyfriend's there left holding the arms is all that's left. I would say that's probably the goriest moment on the show. So if you can get past that first minute and a half of the show, you've probably seen the goriest moment. Now, mind you, if you got an up-close look at what was happening to some of the people that they get killed, yeah, maybe. But at the same time, it's just such a good satirical take on what we love so much with the superhero movies and the MCU and all this stuff that we love so much. It's a very good satirical take on it. They're like a corporate-owned super team.
Okay.
And
because it's based on a comic or graphic novel or something, right? Isn't it?
I believe yes. I'm not actually certain of that, but I believe so.
Yeah, I thought it was based. I thought it was based on something. But yeah, I think just the glowing reviews I was seeing online, and everybody seems to be talking about that first season as being really solid and having a really good ending to the first season, cliffhanger type thing.
Yes, very. The only thing I'll say is it felt like half a season. Like
Okay,
it felt like there was a conclusion a little bit, but like, you know, they're gonna make multiple seasons with something like that because they know they have a hit, so they're gonna make it end that way. But I still would have preferred a better wrap up to at least one of the storylines. Okay. I'm not gonna get into what, but
yeah, because I definitely think I the more I hear about it and the more I read about it, I definitely want to try to check it out. So it's on my list. I will get to it.
Fair enough. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Josh's list of TV.
No, that was
figured while you were on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, and actually that will probably be what I push for after we finish our current one, because we went through Jessica Jones season 3 through like the second half of July, which I gotta say I actually really enjoyed. I thought it was really solid. Kind of sad that especially that show is ending.
Yeah.
Luke Cage, I don't know how much, with the way that like the last episode and a half of that second season ended, I'm like, wow, this went a way I did not see coming, and I don't know if it would really be interesting to keep watching. And then Iron.
See, that part interests me. I think where they left Luke Cage at the end of season 2, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes now. Like, I feel like they painted that, like they almost painted him into a corner character wise, and I want to see how they got out of it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I probably couldn't handle another 10 to 13 hours of that.
Oh, I definitely think all those seasons should be 8 episodes from here on out. I think 13
stretched.
is too many.
Well, there is no from here on out, unfortunately.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If they were making more.
I mean, personally, that's why I didn't watch Jessica Jones yet, because I'm like kind of depressed that it's over, and
do yourself the favor.
There's nothing else coming.
Yeah, very true. And it's like the last of the last. Like Punisher was done before it, Daredevil was done before it, but it goes out on a really good note. Like the showrunners of that, the writers, they found a way. Like it goes. I think out of all like the 4 or 5 Netflix shows, it was the one that went the most different directions in and of itself, but they all felt perfectly natural. Like it was all good choices from like, first episode of season 1 to the last episode of season 3.
Okay.
So, Brian, did you not get into it yet either then?
I didn't watch the 2nd season of Punisher. I didn't watch the 3rd season of Jessica Jones.
Okay. Punisher, I mean, obviously not that they're related whatsoever. I would say I liked what they did with Jessica better than Punisher. Like I didn't. I was surprised that they did what they did with Punisher after the way season 1 ended. I thought it could have been something very different.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad per se, but I just thought there was something much stronger waiting there for them that they could have done. But we finished Jessica, and then actually out of nowhere, I mean, at least I think out of nowhere, Sarah said, hey, do you want to start Schitt's Creek? That's on Netflix. I'm like, I guess so. It's like been sitting on our list, or I keep coming across it for the last 3 years, so sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. It's not bad. It's only like maybe 13 episodes a season. They're like 20 to 25 minutes. It's real streamlined. It's pretty funny so far. I hope they can continue like through 50 some episodes that are out so far to keep it fresh, because the basis of it is Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara play the main characters basically.
Okay.
And they are the parents of a family who, I guess they built up a family fortune of having a Blockbuster type of like giant video rental empire.
Okay.
And it all kind of crashes down, and not because, at least by the show's explanation, not because like the industry collapsed, but because their accountant like fudged the books and stole all their money and left the country. And one of the weirdest parts, like you get over it pretty quickly, but somehow in the past, Eugene Levy's character as the dad, as a joke present to his son, I think, who's like a grown man. His children are like in their mid-20s, playing, their characters are in like mid to late 20s, I think. He bought a town, which I don't know how a private citizen buys a town, but he was permitted to do this. And the town is called Schitt's Creek. Okay. And that's why he bought it, because he says that's why it was funny to not just mention it, but the joke is it's funny to actually buy it.
It's literal. You are up Schitt's Creek.
And so they, when they're left with nothing, they technically own the deed to this, I guess, unincorporated town. So they go to live out of a motel there. So it's definitely like, so far it's a lot of like fish out of water for a bit, of like massively rich people living in this podunk town in this,
right.
So that's the part that I'm hoping they keep fresh, because you can only do that for so long before it comes stale. Right. But anything that Eugene Levy has been involved in writing in the past, especially like his input on any of the not the Carl Reiner movies, the Christopher Guest movies, well, I don't know if he was involved in Spinal Tap, but Best in Show, For Your Consideration, A Mighty Wind, any of those, it definitely has that sensibility to it. Even it's a different format. It's obviously not like the like interview mockumentary style that those movies are, but definitely has the same kind of sensibility. But yeah, we're enjoying it so far.
Cool.
As far as TV, I think that's about it. I'm just kind of waiting for the fall TV shows to get back. Well, really, for me, really only like The Flash, and then I'm really excited to see what the crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths event is like this year.
Yeah, there was a couple of details from Comic-Con that came out for Crisis that I feel like I'd rather not know that. Like, I'd rather just see some of that stuff as a surprise. But the stuff that I've read or caught headlines for that sounds like such an ambitious, big fucking crossover that I can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. And so once that, I think I've talked about this before. Like once I know now, okay, Arrow is going to be bookended either at the end of this half season, or maybe it'll carry through a full season into the spring, but knowing sort of where the end of that is. Same with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, I know after this upcoming year, it'll be over, so at some point, I'll know the full breadth of what I'm getting into when I go to start.
Yeah, they, I think Arrow finishes, it might even be done with the crossover, because it's like 8 to 10 episodes or something for this final season.
That's what it feels like to me. If you're going to do something that huge, if you could easily work in an organic ending for that, rather than have something so massive and then still carry out another 12 episodes that still have to have a satisfying conclusion otherwise.
Yeah, because they added Batwoman to the schedule, and I don't think Legends starts until right before or right around the crossover. So it's like, I think Arrow ends basically at the crossover or shortly after. Legends starts before the crossover or right at the crossover. So they almost like trade off those two shows to keep the slate full.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think Legends is one of the most underrated DC shows on television right now. I fucking love that show. I will hype the crap out of that show for anybody that listens to me.
It's one I'll definitely have to try to find time for at some point.
I think like the tone of that show changed. I feel like a lot from season 1 to the seasons they're on now. Just even from 1 to 2. Like it, I think by the time season 2 rolls around, they realized that the cast could, like the characters, I think were more fun together and play off each other pretty well. And they realized how absurd some of the storylines were, and they just really have fun with it. It becomes like Arrows tries to keep that dark, moody, gritty tone. Flash was still like the lighthearted one compared to Arrow, but then even Flash started to get dark late in some of the later seasons. Legends of Tomorrow came around and I feel like got very lighthearted and fun and plays like a tongue-in-cheek approach to their storylines and what they're doing, and I just think it's really fucking cool. So anyway, my 2 cents.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's I think all for me in that area.
I feel like, Josh, out of the ones we mentioned, I definitely would recommend to you. I'd rather you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and see what you think of that show. Trying to get through it.
Okay.
That would be my top tier pick for you. Legends would be number 2, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think would be top pick.
Okay. I will see what we fit in.
Mike TV, what do you got? Anything else?
I just recently purchased and have been, I guess, rewatching after a long time the Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, you bastard.
Oh, yeah.
They put it up on Prime for like $25 a season. And I was like, sold. Okay. I just had to do it. And of course, those are amazing. So, I mean, that's always pretty damn good. But as far as other new stuff, started recently watching Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and that was actually it's quite a delightful little series to just kind of pop on while you're having breakfast.
Yeah,
like there's some fun. There's some of them that you're like, I have no idea who this person is, but it's still Jerry Seinfeld, so some of it works, and
is that I'm sorry, is that officially now like a Netflix production, or did they just carry it? Because that started on like YouTube.
Yeah,
it's a Netflix production now. They have, God, was it 5 seasons of it?
Okay, I mean, good.
Like there's a lot there.
I mean, I think they took maybe what they did originally, and then Netflix has been building on top of maybe the first 2 seasons or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, for anybody who hasn't watched it, Jerry Seinfeld introduces you to some awesome classic car, or in the case of like the Michael Richards episode, he gets him an old shitty rusted out VW bus. But he introduces some awesome classic car, tells you all about it. And then he goes to pick up some other comedian in the car to go and get coffee or breakfast or whatever. You know, all the way from Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner to somebody like Aziz Ansari. You really, you know, it's kind of, you never know who he's going to pop up with in the next episode. And again, some of them are fun and some of them are weird. Seeing him converse with some people that, you know, like there's been a few where he obviously has like no common ground with the person he's talking to, and it gets a little bit awkward. But for the most part, it's a lot of fun to just sit down and watch.
Fair enough.
And other than that, I really can't think of anything new that I have been watching television-wise.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Mike, I kind of just want to spin back around to like the DC stuff for you. Do you watch any of the Arrow, Flash, any of that stuff? No?
No, still haven't started. I've been like contemplating starting, but it's such a big commitment to start from scratch on them.
Yep.
Like I watched the first season of Arrow a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like when it first came out is when I watched the first season of Arrow, when it was like still live on television for those.
The first 2 seasons of that show, I think, are top tier for those DC shows. The first 2 seasons of Arrow, I think, are really, really good.
You think that like those are the best seasons they've got?
Out of the series right now, yes. I think they've yet to top those first 2 seasons.
Of just Arrow or of all of them?
Of just Arrow.
Oh,
I think
okay.
some of the seasons of Flash, like even the first 2 seasons of Flash, I think might be my favorite.
I thought I didn't really enjoy the first season of Arrow that much.
Okay.
So if that was going to be the best they were going to offer, I may not have been as.
Well, I'll give you
devoted.
one word for season 2 of Arrow. Deathstroke.
Yeah, I heard about that, and that's.
I don't know. He was a very redeeming factor for me for season 2. I really like.
That's Manu Bennett, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's. Yeah, it's there. And the Flash series I've wanted to watch. Again, it's like that, you pop it on and it's like this many seasons of this show, and then this many seasons of this show, and then this many seasons of this show, and you're caught up, and it's like, that's a lot.
The only confusing thing of that whole universe is like you almost have to watch the seasons concurrently somehow, because they do interweave, especially with the crossovers. Like when you get to the crossover, you appreciate the crossover so much more knowing where each show is coming from when they hit the crossover. So if you're only watching Arrow and you hit the crossover and Flash characters and Legends characters all come in there, I feel like you lose a little bit not knowing what's going on in every other show.
Right, and that adds like to homework that I have to do to know when I should be watching which show.
Yeah.
And that sounds like a lot of work, and it became an intimidating universe to pick up.
Yes.
So
I agree. It's intimidating for me just to keep up with it all.
Yeah, and
I mean, I would argue I think it's worth checking out if you've enjoyed some of the shows a little bit that you've watched. Well, I mean, you don't sound like you're too thrilled with Arrow, so I don't know how you'd feel about the other ones, but
I mean, among the characters, I never really cared for Oliver Queen much myself.
Yeah.
So the Flash might be more my speed, but even as DC generally goes, there's not a lot of it that I was that into. Like Batman, I was always very much a fan of Batman. I could read some Justice League stuff, some Superman stuff. But really, for me, it was like Batman, Green Lantern, and that was about all I really read and kept up with. And
so maybe I'll try to narrow it down for you, Mike. I would, if you're thinking about doing it, I'd recommend like stick with the first season of Flash and see what you think.
Okay.
I was thinking maybe do the first season of Legends, but I think that might play better having watched the second season of See, now I'm trying to remember when characters are introduced, because the Legends characters are built up of like secondary characters from Flash and Arrow, and I don't remember when those characters show up in each of those shows.
Well, I know I know some things. Like I know they introduced Huntress into Arrow.
She's like a guest star. She's in a couple episodes, and that's it.
Okay.
But like, White Canary in Legends is in a lot of season 2 of Arrow. The Atom comes from Flash. I think that might be, well, even I guess Arrow too. So he might even be second season of Arrow, first season of Flash. Heatwave and Captain Cold are Flash villains. I think Hawkman and Hawkgirl show up in one of the crossovers. I think that might be during the third season of Arrow to the second season of Flash. See, now I'm trying to get all my things straight. So, yeah, I get that. If you're just thinking about you want to jump in, I'd say watch the first season of Flash. If you enjoy that and sort of want to branch out for there, then you and I can talk. We can sort of get a game plan for you to decide where to go next.
Fair enough.
Anyway, but the reason I sort of brought that up and spun that around, you were talking about the Batman animated series. One of the headlines I read from San Diego was that Kevin Conroy is somehow voicing or playing a Batman or Bruce Wayne character in Crisis in Infinite Earths.
I saw that story too, and I was like, and that brings me to one thing I wanted to mention from something I did watch. I did watch the new Hush film. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
And I was.
Is that any good?
They pull a right turn from the comic book, a left turn, right turn, whatever you want to call it. I said it wrong. It's a left turn, but they take a left turn from the comic book and the way the ending goes. So that was welcomed because just knowing how it's going to end would kind of ruin Hush. That being said, I am still not a fan of Jason O'Mara doing Batman, and it just makes you miss Kevin Conroy every time you hear him talk. You're like, no.
Yeah.
Like the rest of the cast, decent enough. Not really a problem. But I just don't like him as Batman. So
yeah.
But yeah, seeing Kevin Conroy show up as Batman again in anything, I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. He's actually getting actual screen time in whatever this role is going to be. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, like I could honestly see myself just watching that, just to see him show up as Batman again.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know the context of everything else.
All right, you guys are good. Is it on me now? I think.
Yep.
For this, okay. I've only been sort of piecing or trying to get through one TV show right now. I think I mentioned to these guys. I don't know if I mentioned it on air. I picked up the first season of Star Trek Discovery on Blu-ray, so I'm trying to stay away from signing up for CBS All Access. If I can buy the physical copies somewhere down the line, I'm trying to do that. So I bought season 1. I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through it. I think I have one disc to go through, and I'm really digging it. I think they obviously go through like some Star Trek tropes and the stuff you'd expect from a Star Trek series, but I still think they put some different twists on stuff and characters and events and stuff that I'm still surprised by what happens, and I'm really enjoying where they're taking characters and the way they're playing out the story. I haven't wrapped it up yet. I think I have 3 or 4 episodes left to go, so I'm definitely curious and looking forward to seeing how it finishes, but 3/4 of the way through, I would definitely recommend checking it out. So I don't know if we had this conversation before, Mike. I can't remember. Was it not on Amazon Prime, or it is on Amazon Prime to rent or buy?
With a CBS subscription, you can see it there, but you can't buy it.
Okay. So they still want you to go through CBS All Access to try to watch it.
Yeah, like it shows up if you look it up on Amazon Prime, but there's no option to purchase it. It says requires CBS subscription or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd point anybody to the All Access unless you want some sort of other streaming service for something. But I guess if you can find the Blu-ray box set online, I think I picked it up for under $20 at some point. I caught it on sale.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, grab it when it's cheap. If it's basically what I'm saying.
I was just gonna say, like with All Access, you're basically just purchasing the right to watch that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like unless you're really hard up to have a digital version of Big Bang Theory to watch, which I think is the only other show that they keep exclusive to it. If I'm not mistaken, like you can get all the other CBS shows elsewhere, but Big Bang Theory and Star Trek they keep exclusive.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I almost feel like Picard's gonna pull me in, and I'm gonna want to watch Picard when it's out. And if I decide to do CBS All Access at that point, at least I can sort of catch up to Discovery because they finished season 2. I think they're gonna go into season 3. But yeah, I do like it. I enjoy it.
well, when you
So
finish with it, maybe I'll borrow it.
Okay, fair enough. We can do that.
Be my inroad to Discovery.
Yeah, because I'm anxious to talk about it with someone, so I would like someone else to watch it. See if they share my thoughts on this, because I can speak very highly of it. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not like an aversion to CBS or anything like that. It's just like you have one show that you're trying to draw me in with, and nothing else.
Yeah,
and that's why I won't purchase the product. It's like you have one thing and nothing. That's it.
And I don't know about you, but I've watched some of the other Star Trek shows. Like I never watched the original series when it was on. I remember watching reruns of Next Generation. I probably watched it all out of order because it was like one of those Saturday evening type of like 4 or 5 o'clock shows that I always remember just watching around dinner time when I was littler, just having it on.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't watch Deep Space Nine. I skipped that one. I got really into Voyager, and I remember watching a little bit of Enterprise, but not enough to stick with it. So that's my Star Trek knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, the only one I've watched in its entirety is the original series.
Okay.
I've seen a good bit of Next Generation, but not, again, in order. Again, that was when it was just on television, and whatever episode happened to be on is what you got to watch. But the original series I have watched in order. A while ago, it was available on Netflix.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like I had seen them all while I was a kid. You know what I mean? But I had never probably watched them in order then. But when it popped up on Netflix, there's only like 60 some episodes. It's not, that many to get through. So gave them a watch in order. Again, It still holds up pretty much as good or better than the rest.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, we'll talk, Mike. We'll see when I get through it.
Finish up.
All right, that's the only thing I'm really piecing away TV wise. So, whatever you guys, anything else in categories you want to touch on?
No.
You mean like games or what? Are you saying like a different category altogether, or in that category?
Different category, because we all covered TV. So, is there another category you want to touch on?
The only other category I had was video games.
Okay.
Which I figured you had something along those lines as well, but
I feel like it's the same crap I talk about all the time.
Okay.
The same few that I always come back to. I feel guilty that I signed up for Game Pass and downloaded a couple games and played them like a few times each, but keep getting sucked into playing other stuff that I play all the time. So I haven't come back to that stuff that's new that I should be trying to sort of report back with.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, Mike, you probably know Destiny's got their event coming on, so I'm trying to like tie up loose ends before this event is over, before the season ends, and go through that kind of stuff. So that's getting the majority of my time. I did at least want to mention that GTA Online did their update a couple weeks ago where they added access to the casino, which I thought was fucking great. Like it's really stupid. Like you're getting fake money to gamble with more fake money in the casino to make fake in-game money to buy other things. It's all just, fake. But still, I sit on my couch and then I can go to a casino and bring my guy into the casino, play blackjack, roulette, play the slots. Like, I could very easily just sit there and just try to make money for my guy by gambling at the casino. And then they also give you, like, story missions and other stuff to do. So there's other things that the content comes with. And with the casino update, you can go into the casino and they have a daily wheel you can spin that gives you like random rewards, and each week they have a car you can win. And out of the 3 or 4 weeks that this has been going on, I've won 2 cars, so I can't complain about that.
Nice.
So it's hitting it big on the wheel. I've been excited about that. Friends are a little jealous and pissy about it that I keep winning. But
got to spin to win, man. That's what
that's
a casino's all about.
Take your chances. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I've been going back and forth between those two.
I mean, for me, I got the new PC, and I decided I was going to go back and play some of the games on it that I never got to play before, because they were exclusive to PC. Of those, the only one I've currently completed is Half-Life 1. I have not started Half-Life 2 yet. But got introduced to that classic gaming character, Gordon Freeman, which many people know, and a lot of people don't because it was PC exclusive for so long. But
I feel like even if you're just a gamer at all, you've at least heard the name.
yeah, you know who Gordon Freeman is. You know Valve. You know what they're known for. I mean, CSGO obviously has blown up to massive proportions now, and that all started back with Half-Life.
Yeah.
You know, I guess CSGO started with Half-Life 2, I believe, but it still started as modding for Half-Life back in the day. But over 20 years later, I pick up and I finally play Half-Life. I think the next one I'm looking at to like really get into will be not coming out until December. I think it's like the last day of the year, like December 31st. They're releasing the remaster, the 4K remaster of Warcraft 3. Not World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, the real-time strategy game.
Okay.
And I'm definitely looking into that. I like RTS games, so getting one that is considered like to be the pinnacle of the genre,
Yeah.
that I've never been able to play because it's never been on console, would be something great. And it just so happens they're releasing a big HD remaster to it that looks 1,000 times better than it ever has before. Like, it's really a big difference.
What if that's one? Shout out to Andy, because he was my RTS guy back in the day. I'd go down to his place. Command and Conquer was big for us. That was the RTS we'd play on this PC.
Yeah, that's another one I would like to dive into. Is that series, because again, that's not. I think recently there was a mobile CNC game that went out.
Yeah.
But I didn't play that because.
Yeah, I didn't either. I remember seeing trailers and stuff for it, and I think I sent that off to Andy, but I don't think he gave a shit at that point.
Yeah, like, if I'm gonna play that, it's got to be in the right context. And a mobile game is not where I'm gonna experience that series first. I'm not gonna want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so on that aspect, that's what I've been with there. I did pick up The Witcher 3. I did download it. You know, I got the disc, I put it in, got it all loaded, have not booted it up yet.
Okay.
Kind of like waiting for that time when it feels right, because I know it's like that first play session with that game is going to be like a 6 to 8 hour play session of just sitting there enthralled by it. You know, like.
So are you planning on diving in before the show or after the show? The Netflix show.
Whenever I get the time, one way or the other.
Okay. I didn't know if you had made it a point to be like, okay, I'm going to get a taste for this before the show and then compare, or if you're going to let the show wash over you and be like, you know what? I'm ready to dive into that game now.
I mean, yeah, I didn't have a plan on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to, whenever I got that feeling, like, again, it comes back to Destiny, where Destiny has so much for you to keep up with. When I get to that point where I'm like, okay, I have literally nothing I can think of left to do in Destiny until Shadowkeep comes out October 1st. When I get to that point, I'll be like, okay, now it's time. Let me done, you know, because it's The Witcher is going to be that 150 hour game that to do it, you really have to dump a lot of time into it. So I'm trying to get to that point where I'm like, okay, I've got like 3 weeks where my gaming time can be completely dedicated to this one game.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's my plan for that. But speaking of Destiny, last couple of days have been kind of big with news for Destiny.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up with the updates.
So there's been 2 direct statements released from Luke Smith in the last 3 days, and the day in the middle was the live stream for what will be Armor 2.0 coming with Shadowkeep. To say the least, they're definitely trying to start to turn Destiny into something that it's never really been before. It's not going to be there with Shadowkeep, it sounds like, but they're trying to get to that point so that when they release Destiny 3 someday, presumably, They will have one giant complete world for the game that is feels much more like an MMO than it currently does.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to make these changes and see how it goes and see how it goes and see how it goes until they have the system in place they want and they see exactly what they want out of it. And then I think they're going to make that push towards Destiny's final iteration. But it also sounds, from like what I'm hearing when Luke Smith puts this stuff out, is that they are planning a much longer life for the franchise than originally than it originally sounded like. That 10 years, we're already on year 5 here.
Yeah.
And he's talking about a whole nother year of getting the game just to where they originally wanted it to be. And to me, that says they're really going to make a long-term commitment to the game. I hope. Like, I would hope that they're going to try to keep it going as a world the way World of Warcraft has. Just evolving and evolving and evolving, because it could be that if they do it right. But some of the notable things that he was saying, power level is going to matter again. You're going to have to do specific activities to hit that max power level. So, no longer is it going to be just do public events each week and keep doing them, and eventually you'll hit max level. Looks like 1,000 is going to be the new cap with Shadowkeep for the power level. And from what he has said, 950 is where you're going to halt if you're not doing in-game activities. He did not... he called it pinnacle activities. But he did not get into exactly what that term means. Presumably Iron Banner, Trials of Osiris if it ever comes back, raids, Nightfalls, things like that are going to be where you progress past 950. And all the new systems look very interesting, a lot more depth, a lot more customization. So it looks like it's headed in a very positive direction. So definitely something to take note of.
I'm curious to see. I'm definitely curious to see how the changes take place, and if it's a gradual change or if it's all just like, here, Shadow keeps hitting, and there's all kinds of crap that you're gonna have to play with and get used to. But I mean, at this point, I'm so invested in the game, I'm probably gonna just end up sticking with it just to see where it ends up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously
part of me wants to take a break just because I feel like I'm neglecting so much of the crap because I keep coming back to Destiny all the time, and I need to play other things.
I have that same feeling all the time where it's like Destiny just draws me back in, and like right now it's like I just said, like The Witcher's sitting there, and I know The Witcher is considered to be like one of the 10 best games ever made, and I'm just like, but I got to do stuff in Destiny because I got to get this done. Because it's an ongoing world that if you don't keep up, you can get behind, and then you get behind, and it starts to build up, and...
Right, yeah.
It's like having a job when I don't have a job. It's weird. But I don't know, it's fun. And I like that aspect.
I still enjoy it, yeah.
Yeah, and
I think our goal is to try to bring Andy in for the new light update to try to get him to play something with us, for God's sake.
They did announce this, Andy. You do not have to grind your level up to our level. This was announced today. New light, every player will automatically be 750. They will be brought up to the max level currently to start when they start playing Shadowkeep. So no matter what gear you have, that gear will just become 750.
We're going to have to corner Andy at a party and start giving him all the reasons why he needs to play with us.
I actually seen some people that were upset about what he said, because no matter where the items are, no matter what they are, they're all going to go up to 750. And some people held on to their level 10 gear that you get when you run the first mission of the game, and then you finally get green gear to replace that white gear. But all that white was level 10. Some people had that stored in their vault since the beginning of the game, and now he's saying everything's going up to 750, so they're going to have this stuff that they liked having that level 10 on.
Yeah.
It's going to go away. Can't have it anymore.
Why the?
Literally,
wanna get
don't. Well, as an advice for you, don't infuse any of your items. All of it is
Yeah,
just
I read that
magically
today,
going
too.
to become 750. So,
Yeah.
Andy, if you come back, you'll get to be magically max leveled to start the next one and start leveling again. If you're listening, Andy, which you're probably not.
He's probably not. But yeah, we'll have to go out of our way to give him reasons why he should join in with us.
I tried offering to grind the levels up for him, and he still wouldn't do it. I don't know.
You never offer to grind.
Yeah, we'll keep
my
trying.
levels.
You could play Destiny.
Oh, is that what we have to do? Okay.
I mean, you have to buy the $300 console to be able to play with us, but then it's free.
Your friendship
On October
sounds
1st.
expensive.
Christmas present, Josh. Be
A
prepared.
year from now, when I buy Scarlet, I will give you my Xbox if you'll play Destiny.
Oh, hand me down. There you
Yeah,
go.
you can have a hand-me-down Xbox when I replace mine if you'll play Destiny.
Oh, we used
If
to.
not,
we
I'm
used to
turning
have
it
an
in.
Xbox. We got rid of it because we never use it.
I said if you'd play Destiny. I'm not like if you stop playing Destiny, I'm taking it back.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
probably,
it's-
probably wouldn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten rid of the one we had before if I was going to do that.
Well, yeah.
Josh, anything else?
Nope, not from my
I
side.
think Mike and I have filled what we were gonna talk
Yeah,
about.
nope. That's all good for me.
All right. I'm tapped out. Mike, you good?
Yeah, I don't got anything else on the list. I made a list and I talked about all of it. So
Okay. All right, so I think that's where we're going to close this one down. If you have enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite the show. As always, you can find us on Facebook. Search Bry Guy and his Super Friends, or go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends. You can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff there. We will get back to you. You can attempt to email us at the email address we'll never check, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. Or you can tweet us on Twitter at BGSuperFriends. That we will see. On behalf of Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.